Alright, so we're back. We're talking about some Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and today we have a pretty cool sort of update for the game slash observation from someone in the community. So, if you come on over to the Japanese Square Enix website, they obviously have information for everything Square Enix, right? But if we come on over here to the 25th anniversary page for FF7, they obviously have information on all the stuff that's been happening in the last couple weeks. But at the very bottom, they have links to all the games that are either out or coming out in the future. What's interesting is right here. So for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, they actually have a background banner that is clearly the Edge of Creation scene. So this is interesting for a few reasons. For one, it can kind of give us an idea of what Rebirth might be about to a certain degree, because we know during the Edge of Creation scene, there's a universe behind Cloud and a universe behind Sephiroth. The one behind Sephiroth that's kind of modeled after his wing a bit is the universe of death, and the Red Nebula universe behind Cloud is the universe of creation, or I think the more literal Japanese translation is the universe that will be born. Obviously, the logo's shit quality, saving it from the website. It's a tiny little picture. But the fact that the game is called Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and with this particular banner they're using to link to like the trailer on the website, is using the background of the Edge of Creation, but specifically the universe that will be born. It's pretty interesting because there's a lot of speculation on what the name Rebirth means for the second game, but also the red in the logo. The main speculation that I've seen for the color red appearing in the logo is Genesis. I don't know how serious the speculation is, but when you think about FF7 and the color red, there's not really a whole lot of things to go from, except Red 13, I guess. A little bit of Cosmo Canyon, maybe to a certain degree. But or Meteor, I guess a bit. You could do Meteor as well, but it's like kind of reddish-orange. But whatever the case, people have said Genesis. But also when it comes to the name Rebirth, some people have speculated Genesis. A lot of people seem to think Sephiroth, a new Sephiroth being born again, which all makes sense. Like, I'm not arguing or denying any of this. But I think given this particular image they chose to use on the Japanese website, I think the color red is alluding to the universe that we're seeing in the background, the universe of creation, the universe that will be born, and the name Rebirth is about that particular universe. And we actually have some confirmation for this because we have a quote from Toriyama from the Material Ultimania Plus where he talks about the Edge of Creation, and he says that one of the universes is a universe where Sephiroth has failed, and that he actually wants to create a rebirth, create another universe where Cloud doesn't have to die, because if Cloud dies, that means he dies, because then Cloud's not there to remember him. Obviously, with Livestream Black, we learned that Sephiroth attached himself to Cloud so that he can't ever officially join up with the livestream. So it's this question right here that says, what does these two universes tell us about the story of Remake? But it's specifically that second answer that says, I think it also suggests that Sephiroth has ultimately failed in one of the universes. I believe this is perhaps because he realizes that Cloud's actual death means his own ultimate end, having no one with Jenova cells to truly remember him, and therefore allow him to remain differentiated and undiffused within the livestream. So he wishes to create a rebirth, hence the music track One Winged Angel Rebirth. Now, people have been guessing that the second game was going to be called Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for quite some time now, so that aspect isn't new, but the Material Ultimania Plus came out like July 15th of 2021 in Japan. So actually, more than a year ago, we had Toriyama telling us what the title meant, what Rebirth meant. It still involves Sephiroth, obviously, but it's not directly about Sephiroth just coming back alive, being reborn, being rebirthed, or whatever. It's about him wanting to rebirth another universe, a universe where Cloud didn't die, or doesn't die. And actually, looking back at that Toriyama quote for the sake of this video, it makes the Edge of Creation dialogue make a lot more sense, where Sephiroth turns around, looks towards the universe of death, and says, our world will become a part of it one day, but I will not end, nor will I have you end. Because again, Cloud dies, he dies.
Our world will become a part of it one day, but I will not end. Nor will I have you end.
Another possible thing we could derive from this image, and this is pure tinfoil hat speculation from ya boy, is a potential cover art for the game. And I only say that because when you look at the section of games at the bottom of that page, 2 out of 3 of the physical games that are here are cover art. And I say that because First Soldier and Ever Crisis are mobile-only games. They do not have cover art, so to speak, right? They have load screens when you load them up on your phone. Whereas when it comes to FF7 and also Crisis Core, those are actual cover arts of the game. Now, Remake/Integrate is just a picture of Cloud, specifically the image of him after he jumped off the train or whatever the case. So it's possible that they could use some aspect of this picture, the universe of creation, for the cover art for FF7 Rebirth. They're going to do something different. Obviously, they can't just do the remake or original FF7 cover again, because it wouldn't even make any sense going into the sequel. So they're going to have to do something new, which is actually kind of exciting. That means also the third part's going to have a unique cover art as well, and who knows what that's going to be. But I think it's pretty safe to speculate for now that given the title of the next game, the color of the logo, the little bit of red they're giving us, the banner used on this website, that some aspect of this background, this universe, could be on the cover for the next game. But my dudes, ultimately, I do believe that is going to be the video. There's only so much we can derive from a single image on a website, right? It may or may not mean nothing. They might have just chose it because it's red and the logo is red for all we know. But I do think there's something to it, given that we've seen the word Rebirth pop up a few times when it comes to Remake with some of the tracks and stuff like that in the game. But also having one of the devs talk about the edge creation scene and specifically using the word Rebirth when talking about these different universes that we're seeing in the background. Specifically, the one behind Cloud would be the universe that Sephiroth is trying to rebirth, because the one behind him is the universe of death. And having one of the devs talk about this specific universe being Rebirth, like almost a year before we actually get the confirmation of the second game's name. Lo and behold, it's called Rebirth. And then having this edge creation universe pop up on a Japanese website for the game. I think there's something here, man. So I think at least going forward for now, at least for me, until we have further confirmation of what exactly the sequel is going to be about, so we get more trailers or infos from the devs, I think the title is about that specific universe. This tangent universe, this alternate universe. After we defeated the Whisperers, we changed shit, right? Whether it's us or Sephiroth, however the second universe was created, that's the Rebirth. Not specifically about Sephiroth or Genesis or whoever the fuck. It's about a specific universe, a new timeline. And look, to be honest, this isn't even like a new idea. We've already been talking about for a while that we're coming out of the singularity in an alternate timeline, alternate universe, whatever the case. So this idea that Rebirth is about a changed universe or changed timeline, that's not even really new, right? But it's kind of nice to have what seems to be somewhat confirmation of that. But of course, passing it off to you guys, what are your thoughts on this? For one, are we looking too much into it? Does it absolutely mean nothing? But if you think it does, what do you think it means? Is it confirmation that Rebirth is specifically about the new timeline? Or do you think Rebirth is still about like specific characters, as in Sephiroth, Genesis, whoever? Also, before we wrap up the video, quick shout out to two different people for discovering this information. For one, Gene GE1231, I guess is maybe I say their name, I don't know. But they're apparently the one that first discovered this. But I actually learned about it from Baby Sill's Twitter. They tweeted out about this and tagged Gene in their tweet. But I went to Gene's Twitter, never seen them tweet out about this, so maybe they talked about it in the DMs. I don't entirely know. But obviously, full credit to these two. My dudes, that's the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, give a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys aren't interested in more Final Fantasy VII Rebirth content. Turn on notifications. Follow me on Twitter, @YT. And my Discord. Links to the networks are in the description. Into the outro. Later, guys.
Cloud, lend me your strength. Let us defy destiny together.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more. And nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Rogaine or leave it like Cobain.